The first thing I did was to divide my 3 yards fabric in two and then folded one side of it also in two. So I'll be cutting the back side first. This will be my shoulder line and that will be the center back. Here I'm just going to rule out a straight line to indicate my start line for my shoulder. So I'll just rule out a straight line. Now I'm going to take my shoulder divided by 2 and then just make a point there. So after doing that, the next you want to do is to indicate. Hi guys, you're welcome back to Valmich Fit. Here we'll learn tips, tricks and techniques of making beautiful and amazing outfits. Guys, I'm so excited about today's tutorial because it's going to be like a two-in-one package. First, I'll be taking you through the process of how to make this very beautiful bubble gown that is like tight around the front waistline but very free on the back side. And the second, which is the most exciting for me, is that I'll be giving this dress out randomly to one of my awesome subscribers just to say thank you and to say I appreciate you for sticking here with Val Mitch Fit. But if this is your first time on my channel, please do not hesitate to click on the subscribe button and hit on the notification bell because you never can tell, this dress might just be coming straight to you. So without wasting much time, let's get straight into the tutorial. So guys, this is the fabric I'll be using to make this very beautiful dress, and it's a Duchess fabric of 3 yards. So I'll be using 3 yards to make this dress, and the length of this fabric is by 60. Yeah, so let's get straight into it. So guys, in folding my fabric, I'll be using the length of this fabric, which is by 60, as the length of my dress, and then the side that has the yardage or the yards measurement is what I'll be using for my body circumference. The first thing I did was to divide my 3 yards fabric in two and then folded one side of it also in two. So I'll be cutting the back side first. This will be my shoulder line and that will be the center back. Here I'm just going to rule out a straight line to indicate my start line for my shoulder. So I'll just rule out a straight line. So guys, the next step to take is your shoulder divided by 2. Now I'm going to take my shoulder divided by 2 and then just make a point there. So after doing that, the next you want to do is to indicate your sleeve length. So just take your tape rule and place it on where your shoulder line stops. That's where you marked as your shoulder divided by 2, and from that point you take your sleeves length. So you can decide to make yours longer or even shorter, but for the sake of this tutorial I'll be taking 15 inches. So I'm just going to mark out my 15 inches as you can see. So the next thing I'll be doing is to take my neckline width measurement, and I'll be using 3 inches for this. So I have my neckline width measurement, my shoulder measurement, and then my sleeves length measurement. After that, I'll take the neck depth. I'll be using 2 inches. You can actually do 1.5 inches if you feel like this 2 inches is too deep for you. Then just connect these 2 points together to form like a round neckline. The next thing I'll be doing here is to come down by 1 inch on where I have my shoulder sleeve stop. So this is just to form like a shoulder slope. Then connect from the neckline down to where I have my 1 inch marked. So I'm just going to connect straight down to the 1 inch. So this part is going to give it like a slope from your neckline down to where you have your sleeves length. After that, I'm going to take the opening for my sleeves. So you just mark from this point 10 to 10.5 inches downwards. But what I use here was my shoulder to my bust point measurement, which is 10.5 inches. So then you come to this point, and from your shoulder line you take your shoulder to your waist line measurement. So I'm marking 17 inches because that's my shoulder to my waistline measurement. And here I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4, that is on my waistline measurement. So I'm going to mark my hip divided by 4, and then where I have that marked, I'm going to add extra 4 inches. This is to create that ease. So I'm going to connect from that 4 inches to the 10.5 inches I marked as my sleeves opening. So I'm just going to have like a curve from there. I'm just going to mark it with a curved line, and I will take it straight down. The measurement I have for my hip divided by 4 with the extra 4 inches, I'm going to use that measurement straight down to the hem line. So you can go ahead to follow same step with your own body measurement. I'm just trying to create a better curve from the sleeves opening to the waistline and then connect the sleeves opening to the shoulder line. After doing that, I'm just going to cut this back piece out. Now I have placed the second fabric I separated from the beginning to cut the front piece. So I have 1.5 inches difference from the back piece. You can see how I am measuring it out just to be sure and to be accurate with my 1.5 inches measurement. This part is actually the center front. So what I'm going to do next is to come down by 3 inches or 3.5 inches for my neck depth. I'm going to create like a round neckline also for the front after using the width of 3 inches, so it will be 3 to 3.5 inches for my front measurement. After that, I'm just going to cut this piece out, and here this is what I have the front and the back piece together. I'm going to separate this measurement, this 1.5 inches measurement I have there, and that is to divide the front piece in two. Now I have two pieces for the front. I'm going to come down from this part by 4 to 4.5 inches, depends on how deep you want it. And then from the shoulder line, I'll come down by about 34 inches. So you can do 32 or 33 inches, depends on how high you want your slit or the opening around there. Now I have these 4 inches I marked, or 4.5 inches up there, and then the 34 inches. So I'll stitch from that first mark, which is from the neckline down to where I have the 34 inches. I am going to stitch on this 1.5 inches allowance I am marking right now. I'll stitch from the top down to where I have the 34 inches marked. Like I said earlier, you can decide to have a higher slit here. Okay, so that being done, I'll put this aside and then cut out the facing or a little lining to turn the neckline. So I have this fabric folded in two, which is 8.5 inches. That is my shoulder measurement divided by 2 with half inch seam allowance, and the length is about 12 to 13 inches, which is okay. The next thing I'm going to do is to place the dress neckline on this fabric. I'll be using it to trace out the neckline on the fabric, because this is what I'm going to use to turn the neckline. It's either you do this or you use a bias tape to turn the neckline, but I don't want to use a bias tape, so I'll be using this to turn the neckline. I'm going to cut it exactly as the neckline is. You can see I used shoulder measurements divided by 2 for the facing. Meanwhile, the main fabric has 1.5 inches extra added to the center front, because I don't want the facing to be extending out of the shoulders. So now I have flipped it over to the back, and I'm going to be curving out the facing, not just leaving it this straight. I'm going to create like a very nice curve to shorten the facing. Now I'm just going to cut it out according to how I have marked it. But please, when doing this, make sure you lift up the lining to avoid cutting your main fabric. Now this is the back piece with stay on the neckline, and this is the facing or the lining to turn the neck. Now this is the front of the back piece. I'll just show you how I'm going to do this. I'll just place it right sides facing each other, then stitch on it. This is the front, also with stay on the neckline down to where I have the 4 inches opening. Now I'm going to flip this over with right sides facing each other, then stitch on it. So I'll go to my sewing machine to show you guys how I fix this together. So you see where I have this marked out, the opening. I'm going to stitch exactly from that point down to the 34 inches I marked for my shoulder line. So I'll stitch exactly on this line that I have marked, that is the 1.5 inches allowance that I made there. Then do a back and front stitch to hold that spot together. Now this is what I have after stitching. I also make sure to press open the seam line with my pressing iron. Now you can see how flat this part is looking. The next thing to do is to use my hemming gum. I am going to use my hemming gum to close up this opening. When doing this, just place your hemming gum in between this spot, and then use your pressing iron to lay it flat. So you can see me using my pressing iron to lay this flat to keep it all nice and neat. After that, I'm going to be turning the neckline with my little lining and then stitch exactly on where I have this 1.5 inches allowance that I left for the center front. So you can see how I have my needle placed on the crease line, which I used my pressing iron to create. I'm going to stitch it down exactly on that line and come a little below the mark, the chalk mark you can see there. I'll just give out a little space and then stitch it down to where the little lining stopped. So I finished doing this first one. I'll do the second one. Now I have done the both of them, and this is the result of it. You can see how I stitched on this line and gave a little space, then stitched down to where the little lining stopped. I'm just trying to like get it closer to my camera. I hope you can see what I did there. Yeah, so now after doing that, we're going to move to the next step. So this is it on the wrong side. The next step is to trim this part to half of an inch or even quarter of an inch, and this is to give this part some ease after turning it over. So you can see how I trimmed it to half of an inch, so that when I turn it over to the right side, that part is going to be very relaxed on my neckline. After that, I'm going to turn it over. Like you can see here, I've turned it over and I have pressed with my pressing iron. Now the next thing here to do is to stitch the front and the back piece together. I have the back placed on it. I'm going to stitch it on the shoulder line. To do that, I'll use the back lining to turn the front and the back shoulder line together. So you can see how I placed the lining across to turn the shoulder line to hold the shoulders together. I'm going to stitch it down with half of an inch down to where I have my sleeves length. I'll open it up and then hem the sleeves opening to cover up that rough edge. So guys, I have gone ahead to do all those things that I said earlier. I have stitched the shoulders together and also hemmed the sleeves opening, like you can see. So this is what I did. You can see where I stitched the shoulders together and then opened it up to hem the sleeves opening. So make sure you use your pressing iron to make flat all those parts. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is to hold down the front and the back together on the side line, then use my hemming gum to lay flat this lining. So now I have stitched the side line, that is the side seam, together, as you can see right now. So this dress is actually almost done and it can even be worn out like this. So you can wear this out just the way it is, anytime, any day. But we're going to finish it up to create that tightness around the waistline. But before that, I have gone ahead also to hem the lower part of this dress, as you can see right here. So I just hemmed the lower part with about half of an inch because I found out the length of my fabric wasn't up to 60 inches. So just to make sure it's not too short, I had to hem with half of an inch. So you can also do 1 inch if you feel like doing it. Now the last step is what we'll be taking, which is the tightness around the waistline. So guys, let's do this. Now I have 4 belts or 4 bands cut out because I'll be attaching these to both the front and the back. I folded it in two, as you can see, and it is measuring 2 inches, means if I open it up it will be 4 inches, and the length is about 35 inches, as you can see. So just turn this belt over to the wrong side and stitch with half of an inch. Then close up one end of it and turn it over to the right side with the other open end. I'll take this over to my sewing machine to work on, then bring it back for the next step. Now it's time to fix the belt on the Bubu dress. So I'll place my tape rule on the shoulder line and measure my waistline. So this is my shoulder to my waistline, which is 17 inches. Now I'm going to divide my round waist by 4 and place the measurement here. So I'll place my tape rule on the center front like so and mark out one part of it. I'll do the same thing for the other side and mark also. So now this is where I'll be placing the belt on these marks here, and I'll be doing the same thing for the back. So instead of measuring from the center back to get the measurement, I'll just place pins on where I have marked, like you can see right now. After doing that, I'll just flip this over to the back side, and you know guys, our shoulder to front waist measurement is usually different from our shoulder to our back waistline. So I'm going to go up by 2 inches from the original measurement taken from the front. So I'll go up from this point by 2 inches, and this will be my shoulder to back waist measurement. Just like I did for the first side, I'll do the same thing for this other side. Now it's time for us to place the belt, and this is how I'm going to place the belt. So I'm going to place it from the outside like so, and not from the inside. So I'm just trying to pin it down to the front part so that it will be very easy for me to stitch on. I'll do the same thing for this other side, and also I'll do the same thing for the back side. Here you have the belt on your side waistline. So when you tie this to the back, that's the front belt to the back side, this is what it's going to create. It's going to bring together this dress and make the front look smaller than the back. So it's going to bring it together like so. And also for the back, just where we also put belts at the back, it's going to do the same thing when you tie the belt to the front side. Now I'm going to take this over to stitch to the dress, and I'll bring it back to show you guys the final look. So guys, now we have the final look of the dress. This is what it looks like. See how I stitched the belt. So when I tie this to my back waistline, it's going to make the front more shapy than the back side. So guys, we are finally done with this beautiful Bubu dress. I hope this video was able to show you how to make this stylish and beautiful Bubu dress. Guys, to give it some extra beauty with my itchy hands, I decided to add some trimmings to the neckline. So you can use whatever trimmings you prefer, or you can as well leave it the way it is, but I just decided to put some trimmings on the neckline to give it some extra beauty. And like I said earlier, this dress will be going out randomly to one of my awesome subscribers. All you need to do is to head down to the description box for more details on this. But if this is your first time on my channel, then hit on that subscribe button and click on the notification bell for more details on my videos. For now, I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.